we're getting some breaking news in about a police pursuit. This looks like it is at the US 101 and exit 15. That's near Coldwater Canyon in Valley Village. Actually, right around the corner from the news studio here. Mark Liu, do you have new information as to what's happening?
Yeah, okay, so what we're looking at here is a gray Nissan Altima with Florida plates. LAPD is in pursuit of that vehicle you see right there. There's at least two people in it. You see there's a passenger, it's a woman, and I believe it's a man driving the car. Now, they called the want on this vehicle a Code 6 Charles. That basically means a felony want of some kind, a felony criminal want, but they didn't specify any more information besides that. But you can see this car extremely dangerous driving here now on Coldwater Canyon, heading southbound through the Valley Village area. Sky Cow overhead, also an LAPD airship following this as well. Now, we haven't seen lights and sirens yet. There may be LAPD behind it. They certainly were at one point on the freeway. It started near the 405 at Mulholland, ended up eastbound on the 101, then came here into the Valley Village area, right off onto Coldwater, heading southbound at Magnolia. This is a very, very busy area. As you said, it's not far from our KCAL station here in the Studio City area. And as it continues south, they're going to hit Ventura Boulevard, and this car is going to have to make either a left or a right turn. But this air unit overhead calling out the direction of travel here of this car. Again, we don't know beyond there is a felony want on the driver of this car. Very dangerous driving here it's Coldwater Canyon. They're actually heading northbound. I apologize. They're heading northbound on Coldwater Canyon now. This is actually right by LA Valley College. If they continue north, they're going to hit Oxnard, and they're eventually going to come up to the 5 and the 170 freeway. But very dangerous driving here. Two people in the car. I'm going to get on the phone to the assignment desk in the newsroom, see if they can get any further on what the exact felony warrant is on that driver.
And you can see there's a little damage on the car there, unclear as to when that happened on the side door. And you can see swerving around, going into the opposing lanes of traffic and just running through an intersection there. A lot of near misses that we're seeing basically by the second here. Mark alluded to, this is a very busy area. It is a Friday. There's a lot of traffic, 8:56 right now. So this is not a good time for a pursuit to be happening at high speeds, blowing through stop signs and swerving around cars.
We could be saved just a little bit that it's still technically a holiday week, and Friday traffic is usually a little lighter, but this is starting to get very hairy, going around again a group of cars and through that intersection, not stopping at stoplights, doesn't seem to be stopping at stop signs, driving very erratically. I have to wonder, with two people in the car, that sometimes makes it even more dangerous. They could be arguing with one another. You don't know what kinds of conversations are happening. One person may want to pull over, the other does not, which can make things very difficult for police in these types of situations as well.
Yeah, we know the driver has a felony want. That's, so to speak, that's why the police were pursuing the driver in the first place, but we don't know why. The driver now getting on to the 170 here. This is around North Hollywood. Other unsuspecting drivers on the highway as well, and going through lanes of traffic there, swerving around more cars. So this is not a good situation. Going pretty fast, too, 96 miles an hour.
Oof. Yeah, and I mean, the only reason I said we might be saved a little because it's a Friday during the holiday is because of this. Once he got on the freeway, obviously not as much traffic as we would see during a typical week, which is good. But as you indicated, also allowing him to go extremely fast. Crossing over now into that carpool lane. This is the 170. It looks like southbound carpool lane. In Valley Glen, still going close to 100 miles per hour. As we indicated, that damage on the driver's side passenger's seat in the car, the rear view seat. So you don't know exactly what's happened here. As you said, felony want, damage to the car, Florida plates, two people in the car. There's a lot of questions as to what could be transpiring. Mark, you just got off the phone. What do you know?
Yeah, okay, so we're hearing now that the one on this involves a 211. That is the LAPD police code for a robbery. I actually heard the air unit on the radio say it's a 211 GTA, which would indicate it's a carjacking. Now, again, we had mentioned that the plates are Florida plates. So it's unclear if the carjacking happened in another state or this is a carjacking here locally. But certainly robbery of some kind is the want now. That's a more specific definition of that Code 6 Charles original call, which is, of course, a felony want. Now, this car, as you can see, going very high speeds, 95 miles an hour, directly north on the 170. They're going to come up here on the 5. There's an interchange here that can get a little tight. Traffic, though, normally heading northbound on the 170 at this time of day is the clear side. It's the southbound side as people head out of the valley into downtown using the 5 and the 170 where it's much more congested. Now, you can see, again, another example of the very dangerous driving that this person at the wheel is doing with this car. Very high speeds going around cars. Absolute disregard for any of the other drivers on the road. There doesn't appear to be any LAPD lights and sirens behind this one. This is strictly a pursuit involving the air unit who is keeping tabs on this vehicle, the LAPD airship overhead. Haven't heard any request yet from the CHP to take this one over, even though it was on the 170 and the 405 and the 101. If this car keeps going on and off the freeway, jurisdictionally, LAPD may hold on to it, unless they feel that it just gets so dangerous they want to hand it off to the CHP if it stays on the freeway.
Now, flipping around, Mark.
U-turn.
Yeah, a U-turn here. Back now, I believe we're going to be heading westbound, possibly on Roscoe. This is going to take him back under the freeway as they head west towards actually Van Nuys Airport, which is SkyCal's home base. This continues to be very dangerous, though. Now this looks like they're just going to get right back on. This may take him back southbound on the 170, headed back to right where he was.
It seems to indicate that he doesn't really know where he's going. In a lot of these cases, we see them, kind of know where they're going. Maybe they're getting to someone's location. Doesn't this indicate to you, Mark, that there's some confusion here?
Yeah, there's always, when we see drivers in pursuits, sometimes you see patterns. Drivers like to go back to areas they're familiar with, and then they circle the same neighborhood or the same area. Or sometimes we have seen pursuits go from county to county where the driver really has no clear plan in mind about what they want to do. Of course, obviously, we just want the safest thing here is for this driver to pull over and surrender. But you can see the extremely high speeds going in and out of the carpool lane. Now, this is the side of the freeway where we very likely could see much more congestion and traffic. And this driver's going to have to keep doing things like this to get through traffic, which is very, very dangerous, Jamie and Rutabeck.
Yeah, and you saw him kind of get stuck, stalled behind some of those construction trucks at one point. And that's when you kind of also worry about what are they going to do? Are they going to panic? Do they have a gun in the car? Why is that passenger with the driver? There are so many questions, and it seems like there's something hanging out the side of the car window as well. Not sure what that is, but at least 120 miles per hour in some cases. He just passed one of the, is it CHP? I'm not sure which law enforcement agency vehicle that is, but of course they are being watched. Just getting off, it doesn't look like getting... Okay, almost swerving around a bunch of cars, a lot of near misses here. And this is, Mark said, looks like a carjacking suspect, some sort of robbery want on this driver with a passenger in the car. You see some damage there on the side of the car, swerving through lanes very close to the edge of that median there, now in the carpool lane.
We do want to mention that you are watching KCAL News Mornings at 9 right now as we are entering into the next hour of this pursuit that we've been following since the 8 o'clock hour. He's in the carpool lane once again. We've seen him go as fast as 118 miles per hour at one point, staying above 100 for much of the freeway here. Again, it is a end to the holiday week. It's a Friday. There's a little bit less traffic, which is good, but we've seen him get into a couple hairy situations where there is congestion, driving very erratically. Again, there is a passenger in this vehicle as well. We don't know the relationship between the two people. You don't know what's transpiring the two, if they're arguing with one another, what's happening inside that vehicle as police are trying to, follow this vehicle and hopefully get it to eventually pull over.
And Kalina just sent us a message saying the traffic is very light on the freeways today, which could be a good or a bad thing, Mark, because sometimes that can allow them also to go at very high speeds. We saw up to 118 miles per hour right now slowing down, but he is able to get around the cars and go at a very fast pace.
So new information from the LAPD, the air unit talking with the watch commander there may be as many as 5 people in this car. They have new information. They say there are 3 men and 2 women in this car, which is an incredible amount of people to be in a car like this, moving at very high speeds. The LAPD watch commander has also authorized 6 ground units to re-engage this pursuit, lights and sirens, because they are afraid there may be, at the end of this pursuit, 5 people getting out of this car and running in every direction. We've seen that before, so they want to have enough units behind this car in case that happens. Certainly, they're hoping that everybody here surrenders, but based on how this driver is trying to evade, even when there's no lights and sirens behind them right now, or at least if there are lights and sirens, they're quite far back in the distance. But that air unit really keeping up with this vehicle. Now, just for reference purposes, SkyCal has an airspeed of about 110 miles an hour. So SkyCal, when they're cruising, they're about 110. So the pilot here may be pushing the generator in the chopper up to maximum in order to stay with this car as they're just going way too fast for freeway speeds here on the southbound we're now on the 101, I believe, as we're checking here. This is the southbound 101. We're going to be going through the Cahuenga Pass, and there's just going to be even more opportunities now for this driver to do these dangerous sort of moves here, which is not good for anybody on the road.
Well, I have to think too. I mean, this driver's obviously entered. You know, we enter fight or flight, right? He's fleeing. But when you have other voices in the car, if there's as many as 5 people, that can only sometimes exacerbate that whole flight, feeling of trying to get away. So it's not. This is not a good situation on so many levels, and to have so many people in the car going so quickly at this point in time, you don't know what's transpiring. But for the driver himself, not a good thing.
Yeah, and Mark, you mentioned that 5 people could get out, run 5 different directions. Yeah. It could also be a hostage situation. This could end in so many different ways. We don't know if they have weapons, what kind of weapons they have inside the car, and what the circumstances are of those 5 people in that car. So that just makes the situation so much more dangerous, not to mention all the people who are out on the road. Right. Thankfully, the freeways are light right now, but we saw this driver also going on to city streets, surface streets, turning around at one point, swerving through lanes of traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm hearing the air unit talk to the units on the ground. There are some patchy areas of fog and low clouds coming up in the Hollywood area. They're concerned that the air unit may lose sight of this, so they want the ground units to move up a little bit closer. They're also concerned that this vehicle may leave LAPD's jurisdiction. So the watch commander also talking to other allied law enforcement agencies like the LA County Sheriffs and the CHP to be ready to take this over in case this gets too far out of LAPD's jurisdiction. It's not that LAPD wants to give this up. It's just that it's better if there is a high-speed pursuit to have officers in pursuit of it that are more familiar with the area of the city that it's in. And right now, they have no idea where this driver is going. We started in the 405 in Mulholland. We went up all the way north into the valley. Now we're in the Hollywood area, continuing this very reckless driving. And as you said, 5 people, 2 women, 3 men in this car. We know there's a woman in the passenger front seat and the driver and the driver is a man. So that would mean 2 men in the back seat and also a woman back there.
And just passing Hollywood High School there as well. And Hollywood is such a busy area. So many pedestrians there, so many people out there. This is not a good place for a pursuit to be happening.
Not at all. And I have to wonder, too, with a felony want on the driver, if there's 5 people in the car, it makes you wonder if there is the potential that there had been other criminal activity where they are grouped together. You can see the driver there looking out the window right now. He obviously must see the helicopters up above, putting a hood on, trying to hide potentially his identity, knowing that he is being watched. We've seen the female passenger in the back seat. It's very hard to tell because of how dark the back window is, and of course that damage with the tarp over the back seat. It's very hard to tell how many people are in there. Now speeding up once again, as Rutabaga just said, in a very, very busy part of town.
Yeah, on and off the freeways, onto surface streets, past schools, nearly missing cars. Again, if you're just joining us, we are following this pursuit. This driver has led authorities through Valley Village, Sun Valley, Studio City, Hollywood, now heading towards through the Cahuenga Pass and then through Hollywood and now on Cahuenga Boulevard, which is also very busy. Luckily, the freeways are lighter than normal, but when you get onto those city streets and you get into tourist type areas and past schools, a very dangerous situation with at least 5 people in the car, 3 men, 2 women. We can't see the back seat. It looks like the car has tinted windows. It does have some damage on the side as well, but we saw the driver, looks like a young male in the front. We got a pretty good view of him out the window when it was open. It looked like he then acknowledged the chopper following him, rolled up the window, and in the back you really can't get a view of the 3 people who are back there, but we saw a young woman in the passenger seat as well in the front.
You know, it's just striking to me how fast he's going, even on the side streets, getting up to 57, close to 65 miles an hour at some points in time. Now 95 miles per hour. I'm hearing we have a picture of the suspect.
Well, this is some video on the right-hand side when they were looking out their window, the front windshield, when SkyCal was overhead a little bit earlier. We've seen this kind of behavior both from the driver and the passenger, looking both behind them and above them to check and see if there are any law enforcement units behind them. Now, I can tell you right now, above them, there are about 5 helicopters. There's 1 law enforcement airship from the LAPD and then a bunch of media airships like SkyCal. So it's pretty noisy. If they have their windows down, they definitely can tell if there are helicopters above them. And we've seen pursuit drivers do this to check to see if they're still being followed, because they're under some false assumption that law enforcement is going to give up or let them go. In this case, that does not appear to be the case at all. LAPD has made a very concerted effort to move units to be in position should everyone in this car run. As they were going into the Hollywood area, I heard the watch commander ask for Hollywood units to be in position there, right there at the side of your screen, that white and black helicopter. That's the LAPD airship following very closely. Now they're going back into the valley. We should be on the northbound side, I believe. This is the North 101. And we are heading back into the Studio City area. This would take them right back to the valley, which means those same valley units that were engaged in this pursuit before are probably going to re-engage again.
That was a very close call just now, and we saw him hit the median there at one point. And as we've been following this, we've seen him go up to 120 miles per hour. Very dangerous speeds. We don't know if there's going to be damage to the car there. We don't know how that damage on the side, how the car sustained that damage. And we don't know, Mark, we don't know if this is a stolen vehicle either, right?
Well, the original call, as we had said, the want was Code 6 Charles, which was a felony want. And then we got some clarification from the LAPD, specifically that the felony want was 211. That's the police code for robbery. And then I specifically heard the air commander say this was a 211 GTA, which would be a grand theft auto robbery, which would indicate carjacking here. We don't know where that happened or when that happened, or even if this is the car that was carjacked. We only know that there is a want on someone, very likely the driver in this car, for robbery. And that was the initial call. That is why this pursuit started, when they tried to pull this car over, take that person into custody. Driver refused to comply, and the pursuit was on. That was around the 405 in Mulholland just about 35, 40 minutes ago. And this pursuit has gone up through the valley, down into Hollywood, and now we're on surface streets in the North Hollywood area, Magnolia and Backman.
I have to say, Mark, I just looked at Rutabaga. You can hear helicopters over the studio right now. This is so close to where we're located at Magnolia and Lankershim in North Hollywood. This
is not good.
No, in the middle of an intersection, trying to get away. I do, Mark, want to ask you, you said those 6 ground units were getting in position. I haven't seen any ground units at this point in time, just still the air response. Do we know where that's at right now?
Well, that was actually when they were in the Hollywood area. Those were Hollywood division units that were preparing to get into position. Now they're back in the valley. This car has moved back and forth through LAPD divisions so quickly in the last 30 minutes that the air commander has been working with all of the divisions to get the proper units behind. There's no danger of, I think, the air unit losing sight of this car. They are concerned at the very dangerous driving and whether or not ground units would even be able to safely keep up with this car. So there's certainly LAPD units in the area. They're ready to move in quickly should this end and everyone get out and run, or should they just pull over and stop. But I think in terms of seeing lights and sirens directly behind this car, we may not see that anytime soon.
Okay.
Based on just how much traffic there is and how dangerous this driver is engaging.
And the other people in the car as well, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, there certainly may be as many as 4 other people in this car besides the driver. The LAPD area unit says that they have information that there are 2 women and 3 men in this car. They didn't clarify where that information came from, if that was visual or perhaps some other kind of information that they had from another law enforcement agency about how many people were in there. But we certainly, with SkyCal, have seen both a male driver and a female passenger. Oof. They've been looking out the window at the helicopters that have been following them.
He's going as high as almost 80 miles per hour on these side streets right now, which is just so dangerous as he's weaving in and out of these intersections and in such a busy part of North Hollywood. You can see him trying to go around a car at an intersection, not stopping. It is always interesting to me in these situations, just from how humans are unpredictable, where he is using his turn signal. Oh, narrowly so missed getting hit. That was a very close call, but he appeared in at least the taillights don't appear to be working, but the front, he continues to use his turn signal off and on, which is interesting. But moving through some near misses here, going very fast. I mean, 80 miles per hour on some of these side streets is just so dangerous.
And earlier it did look like at least some of the time he was kind of staying in a lane when there were no other cars around. He's narrowly swerving around cars, but on those open streets he was kind of staying in his lane somewhat. But now it looks like he's becoming even more erratic.
Well, you have to wonder, like we keep talking about, is that, humans are incredibly unpredictable, right, in their behavior. You've got 5 of them potentially in the car. You don't know what the conversations are that are happening. You don't know if one person wants to get out, another person wants to stop, someone else is saying, let's drive to this other place. I mean, I can only imagine what's happening inside the car as this driver is trying to figure out where to go and what to do. Now you can see him backing up, hitting a garbage dumpster, backing up into a driveway, it looks like there, and turning around to get out of, he must have realized he was in a residential area with maybe potentially less areas to get away in this pursuit. But now going the other direction here, still, still trying to get away.
And it seems like he keeps turning back to the Sun Valley, North Hollywood, Studio City area. It started, you said, around Mulholland Drive, the 405?
Well, that's where we had heard that LAPD picked it up. It was at the 405 at Mulholland. And the reason that I think this car turned around just right then, it was a dead-end street. And the air unit actually said, get ready, units. This is a dead-end street. They may try to foot bail, which means get out and run. Now they are in a parking lot. It looks like they're also out of sight of the air unit. I just heard the air unit say they're behind a building. This car went behind a building, and a SkyCal as well. Can't see where this vehicle went. It's unclear if there is an entry to a garage here or if they parked and got out.
That looks like the driver out of the car right now.
And then there is the passenger
letting out the other people.
And we can see everyone else coming out now. That's one.
Well, it looks like that could even be a child, like a young kid, a teenager or a child, one of those passengers. And this looks like a very crowded area. It looks like they're trying to kind of be discreet by not running, just walking around to blend in or something. But you can see all the cars in that parking lot, and you see all the buildings around it. There must be a lot of people around there.
And I'm unclear. Is this a business area or is this an apartment complex? Are they maybe trying to go back to where they live or they've been staying?
This is an apartment complex, and I'm hearing the air unit got very good descriptions, and they said 3 people got out of the car. It's unclear if there were 2 more in there, as we had previously heard. But they are now asking Valley traffic units, to set up a perimeter around this apartment complex. They are vectoring in LAPD officers now in order to try and search this area. But the first thing that they want to do, there is the first units on scene. They are going to be setting up a perimeter of this block, and they are going to go into that apartment complex with the very specific descriptions of those suspects. The air unit did get a good look at them.
It's amazing how calm the three of them were when they got out of the car. It's almost like it was a strategy to blend. There you see the units coming up on that area. They know exactly where they're going. But of course, a huge concern about whether this could become a standoff situation and whether that driver or any of those people in the car are armed.
Oh, there goes the driver running now from that apartment complex, running across the street. We saw the female passenger with a blanket in the middle of the apartment complex, but he's now running. The units you see now running after him. And now this is also a dangerous situation because you don't know with how erratic this driver has been. Will he cut in and out? Will he get hit by a car? You see that car just coming up right now into a parking lot. You've got officers running behind.
It looks like an officer is injured there, like hopefully he just tripped or something, but it looked like he was struggling to get up.
It's unclear if that other civilian car was a Good Samaritan or was attempting to stop that person or what was happening there, but it looks like that driver has now run into what looks like perhaps an auto body or a repair store here. And it did appear that officer went down, but I think he may have just caught his foot on the curb, and that's what caused him to fall.
And this is also scary. If it was a robbery or a carjacking, the original crime, we don't know if he could do that again, if he could take someone hostage, if he's armed, if he knows anyone in this business, or if this is just a totally random business, a crime of opportunity where it happened to be a place to run. But you have to worry about the people inside there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There has been no evidence or no indication from the air unit. They got him. They got him right there. They were able to take him into custody. Now, as for the other two people that got out of that car, LAPD, I have not heard any indication from the air commander whether or not any of them have been taken into custody yet.
And it looked like one of them might have been a minor, too. We don't want to speculate, obviously, but it was a female passenger in the front seat and then a male in the back seat who looked like, and that male was blocked from view during the pursuit as well because of whatever was on that car window and the tinted windows in the back.
Yeah, so now obviously we can see that the suspect, the driver, is in custody right now, walking him back to where the units are located. As Mark just talked about, that female passenger as well as the male passenger, we do not know where they are at this point in time. It was so interesting to watch them just so, as you pointed out, Rutabaga, slowly get out of the car and nonchalantly start walking towards the apartment complex. The woman had a blanket in her hand. She had because of the damage it looked like to the window, she had to reach in and open the back seat to let out that male passenger in the back. And we have not gotten any indication if they have found those two individuals yet or not, but you can see the male driver is in custody at this point in time. If this is a place that they had been staying or they live, you'd make the assumption that police will be asking the driver very quickly where they could be located within this complex.
So I can tell you also, this has happened so fast, and there has been such an effort to catch these suspects that the air unit just realized that none of their officers have actually approached the car to see if anybody else was still inside. Oh. So LAPD officers are now being tasked with approaching that vehicle and clear it. They say, we need someone to clear that vehicle. You can see they want to do that before other people in the area approach it and perhaps contaminate any sort of evidence that may be in that car. I believe those are just two civilians that are now out. Perhaps they live or they're staying at this apartment complex here. They're wondering what's going on, not realizing they're standing next to a vehicle that was just involved in a high-speed pursuit. So the air commander is now tasking a few officers to approach that pursuit vehicle to make sure that there's nobody else inside of it.
Well, that's it. You know, bystanders, I know people get so curious and they want to know what's going on. And obviously this is happening, you know, outside where they live or they were at a business and they want to go. But if police haven't even approached the car yet, it makes you somewhat nervous that people are coming out and shooting video with their cell phones and things because you don't know if there are other people in the car, if they're potentially armed or what could be happening there. Of course, we have seen that the driver was placed in custody, but we have not seen the other two. There's the driver
There's
there.
the passenger. The passenger there is also in custody.
Oh,
so
yes. Okay. In all black.
There may only be one other outstanding suspect here. I believe there may only be one more, if any. So,
Okay.
Oh, that's the female passenger.
Yes,
yeah.
right there in all black, and it looks like red and white tennis shoes. Standing up against the patrol car there. There's the blanket that she took out of the car.
Yeah, a coat or a blanket. Looked like she was wearing that in the passenger seat. You wonder if maybe she was doing that so she would look different after they realized that, you know, they were being followed and that the chopper was getting footage of them. So they are now both in handcuffs, surrounded by police officers. Still one other passenger at least, who we don't see at this moment.
No, and that passenger, when we watch the video playback, he either appears to have a beard or a mask on, something like that. So not quite sure what was happening there. If it's a mask, obviously trying to conceal an identity. If it's a beard, that will be a distinguishing mark for officers to be able to look out for. It looks like we still don't see that third passenger either at this point in time.
Yeah, but we did see the driver there. He was having some words with LAPD officers. He seemed very irate and upset. That woman there, that definitely was the passenger. I think it was a puffy white coat that she was wearing. They've got that at the hood of this unit here. They're going to be searching both of these people before they take them over to probably Van Nuys Station Jail or perhaps the Metropolitan Detention Center downtown. But we're still listening to the air unit say they want to get people away from the pursuit vehicle. There was a civilian that was not involved in this. It was standing far too close for their liking, so they're getting officers over to that car now.
Okay, well, this ended, I guess, in the best possible way because it could have been a lot
Way
of people
worse.
hurt. There could have been a lot of different scenarios that would have been very dangerous. So we're glad to at least see that these two people are in custody and no bystanders were hurt as far as we know.